Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Makeup and Movie Monday. Woo! We are here today to talk about another one of my favourite movies. I know I keep on doing that quite a lot, but these movies that I have been speaking about, on my Makeup and Movie Monday are just movies that I really love, and I just really want to kind of talk about them. And so, as per usual, Makeup and Movie Monday is essentially me putting on a full face of makeup while talking about one of my favourite films or just a film in general. I know, like I just said, that all these movies have been my favourite movies, but I can't seem to really think of any film that I don't like to talk about, because I want it to be kind of just a bit fun. So, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm talking about Big Trouble in Little China, which is directed by John Carpenter. You can see I've got a really big smile on my face because I absolutely adore this movie. I remember watching this when I was super young, and I was kind of like, I have no idea what this film is, but it's awesome. But then when I realised that it's the guy who, it's done by the guy who directed Halloween, I was a bit like, okay, because obviously I grew up watching a wide array of movies, and especially something as weird as this movie compared to something like Halloween, which is my favourite horror movie of all time. But yeah, let's talk about Big Trouble in Little China. I've got the Arrow video edition with like the steelbook edition that I got. Oh god, it must be about 5-6 years ago, or even no. Actually, this version came out in 2013, so I've had this for a while. But I absolutely love steelbook editions, and this one especially. I'm sorry, I know it's backwards, but I just love the imagery like on here. It just wraps up the whole film essentially in just one picture. But yeah, we're here to talk about this movie, my love for it, kind of my obsession with like John Carpenter as well. I've got my Escape from New York t-shirt on. Maybe it's a movie I'll talk about in the future. I'm not overly confident in talking about that movie just because I love it. I think it's an amazing movie, but I don't think I could bring enough of my kind of passion to talk about it just yet because I've watched more Big Trouble in Little China, for example, like and that and The Thing, compared to Escape from New York. And Escape from LA, we're just not going to talk about. If you have seen Escape from LA or if you know about John Carpenter movies, we don't want to bring that one in. So let's just get the makeup on because I've been talking for almost 3 minutes about how excited I am to talk about this film. So yeah, Big Trouble in Little China is a movie that was directed by John Carpenter. So if you don't know who John Carpenter is, hello, please check him out. His movies have become more iconic movies because back in the day when they first came out, a lot of his films bombed. The same with Big Trouble in Little China. Like I was just looking at the kind of gross amount that they made compared to how much the film took to make, and now they're just cult movies because they were really, a lot of his films were kind of bombed back in the day. I think even The Thing didn't do that good, but now they're just like cult classics, especially something like Big Trouble in Little China. So yeah, it was released in 1986. And it stars Kurt Russell, who is one of the most amazing actors. He is fantastic. It stars Kim Cattrall, who's also known as, I think it's Samantha from Sex and the City. I don't watch that show, so I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure that's the name of her character. It's also got James Hong, so who plays Lo Pan, which is essentially like the villain. And then you've also got Dennis Dunn, who plays Wang Chi, who is actually also in Prince of Darkness, which is one of John Carpenter's, like, I'm pretty sure it came out before, I'm not 100% sure, I think it came out before Big Trouble in Little China. And that is, I think it's kind of one of his unknown movies because it didn't have such a crazy worldwide release as, Big Trouble or The Thing. But it's also got the Donald Pleasance from Halloween as well, who plays the Dr. Loomis, and it's a great movie. If you haven't checked it out, I don't know if they've released it on like special DVD or something because it's taken a while. It took a while for me to watch it, That's because I think it's just not available, but I don't know if they've done a remaster of it. But let's actually talk about Big Trouble in Little China, because I seem to have just like not spoken about it much. So essentially, you have our main character, who is Kurt Russell, and his character's name is Jack Burton, and he is a truck driver. So he is on his way to see his friend Wang Chi, because they're friends and they like to gamble a lot. And in one of those kind of gambling moments, Wang owes Jack a lot of money, and then Wang essentially is, look, come with me to the airport. I'm gonna go and see my girlfriend, because she's coming over. I think she's coming over from Japan to see, or China. I'm really apologies. I can't remember where it was that she was coming from. I should probably check that. It might not even been overseas. It might even been somewhere in America. But yeah, so they go to the airport, and essentially there's a gang there that kidnap her, and then they eventually track her down, and she's actually kind of been taken for like sex trading, she's been kidnapped basically, and then essentially they go and rescue her. But in between all of this, these kind of, I don't even know how to even kind of describe them. They're kind of ancient spiritual guys. They're the bad guys. They like come down and they kidnap her, because later on we find out, because she has beautiful green eyes. There's this really kind of like well-known line in the film. It's like, Chinese girls don't have green eyes, which I think is quite an interesting line, considering the movie is about, girls having green eyes to kind of give power to the bad guy, essentially. That's kind of like giving away some of the movie. But yeah, so Jack then helps Wang, even though Jack is kind of like, look, I just want my money and I want to get out of here. He's not the hero of the film, which is really funny, because when I was growing up, I was kind of like, yeah, Jack is like the main character. Everyone loves him. He's amazing. He's really funny. Whereas when you watch it as an adult, you just think he's quite annoying, and not annoying, but he just is constantly annoyed, because all he does is want his money and he wants to just be out of there. And he's like, okay, I'm going to help you, but I want my money. And then Wang's like, okay, I'll get your money, but you just have to help me this one time to get my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And then essentially they meet David Lo Pan, who is, when you see him, he's kind of, it's very difficult to kind of describe, because he's a young guy. I'll show you on here. So he's got this amazing costume. I love the costumes in this movie so much. They're just absolutely beautiful. And he's meant to be, he's kind of like this young in that kind of sense, kind of person, as you can kind of say. But what you find out later on is actually like 200 years old, and this really crinkly old man who essentially needs like the kind of eyes, green eyes, to kind of help him become more youthful. And that's when kind of Kim Cattrall's character comes in this as well. Her name is Gracie Law, and essentially, I don't think she's a lawyer, or is she a lawyer? I can't remember. But she is essentially, no, she's a reporter. Sorry, what am I talking about? So she's kind of like a really nosy reporter who happens to be friends with Wang. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to help you out, blah, blah, blah. And obviously she has green eyes as well. So she kind of gets caught in the whole kind of middle of it. And then her and Jack end up like, kind of canoodling towards the end, which is quite funny. But yeah, the movie is just crazy in the sense of there's so much happening. There's so many like interesting characters. And then when you have someone like Kurt Russell, who plays Jack Burton, who is just a crazy character. He's just a fantastic character, like compared to his other characters that he's played in like The Thing, where he's extremely like miserable and really kind of on edge, as you have to be. And then you have something, I don't know, like Escape from New York, where he's just really serious. What I love about Kurt Russell is his ability to just play different characters so well, and especially when it comes to him in Big Trouble in Little China, you're constantly laughing, because you don't know if you should be laughing at him or with him, because one of my favorite scenes in the whole film is when they're going into Lo Pan's kind of like, it's not a dungeon, but it's kind of like area, his kind of place, and they're all just like gonna run in shooting, and Jack just starts like screaming, and he shoots the ceiling, and all the rubble just falls down on him, and he misses the whole fight. And I just think it's amazing comedy timing. This movie is not a comedy. I just think it's that weird kind of dark humor that John Carpenter kind of brings to certain types of his movies, because even something like The Thing, there's like undertones of dark comedy, and They Live, They Live is obviously not with Kurt Russell in there. It's got Roddy Piper, and it's even got Keith David, who is in The Thing. The thing is, a lot of like John Carpenter movies, they always feel like they're kind of intertwined, like they're part of the same universe, because none of his movies are really set around the same time. And especially with Big Trouble in Little China, it's a very modern kind of film. And I just think it's just such an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, I mean, like I said, it's become more of a cult film over the past kind of few decades since it came out. Like I said, 86, so it's over 30 years old. So it's a movie that I remember growing up watching in the 90s, when I started watching movies and getting more into kind of just films. I think I remember watching it on TV, because I don't think DVDs weren't a thing back in the day, but it was definitely on TV. And I think it was one of those movies that you kind of, that's halfway on and you would just carry on watching it because it's just so good. But yeah, the kind of whole resolution about the film is just typical, like Jack gets his money, he just goes driving off in his kind of truck, because him and Gracie, like I mentioned, have like a thing, but they just kind of like, all right, it's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the ending of the movie is just kind of, the guy gets his girl back. It's kind of like a happy ending. But one thing I find, like, if you haven't seen the movie, it's not really a spoiler. It's just kind of something that happens towards the end. In between kind of the whole fighting, there's this massive creature. I don't know if there's a name for the creature, that kind of Lo Pan like kind of summons, and he kind of fights everyone, but then you kind of like, you think he dies, but then towards the end he's in like Jack's car, he's in his he's in his car, in his truck, and it's kind of like, you don't know if that was an indication that there was going to be another movie or anything, but I think because it kind of did so badly, I don't think that they were going to make another one. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because why make sequels for movies that are perfectly good by themselves? And I think Big Trouble is definitely a movie that doesn't need to have a sequel, doesn't need to be remade, so please don't ever think of remaking this movie, even though I'm sure Hollywood are thinking about it already. But yeah, if you have or haven't seen this movie, let me know. If you haven't seen this movie, I really recommend it. I mean, Kurt Russell is one of the best actors just going. I mean, recently, I know Tomahawk or whatever his name, Tomahawk something. It's meant to be it's like a Western horror film, even though I didn't realize it was going to be like a horror film, but I really need to see that movie. I've heard amazing good things, and of course, like kind of more out there, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He played Thingy's dad, Star-Lord's dad, whatever it is, essentially, and it was really good to see him in that. But kind of for years, he kind of went off the radar, which I think sometimes quite good. But like John Carpenter hasn't really made any movies. He was involved with the latest Halloween movie, and I believe he is involved in this new one as well, because he has spoken about it. I actually forgot to mention that I saw John Carpenter I went to see him perform a few years ago, and honestly, it was one of the best gigs I've ever been to. So in case I actually didn't mention it, but John Carpenter does a lot of the soundtracks for his movies. So with Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing, Halloween, I think even like Prince of Darkness and some of the other ones he's done, he did the soundtrack. And when I went to see him a few years ago with his band, so his son is in the band as well, they performed like the kind of iconic songs from his movies, and he did the Pork Chop Express, which is the name of Jack's truck. And I was just so happy. I was about to start crying because it's one of my favorite soundtracks ever, and it's the same it's the same with Escape from New York, because he did that as well. I'm just going to put some lippy on because I can't talk and lippy at the same time. Just trying to make it all neat. But yeah, I think when it came to kind of like Halloween, and certain kind of other types of movies that John Carpenter did that kind of put him on the map, I think they were, you know, movies that, so I think some stuff like kind of Big Trouble and The Thing were kind of more to his heart, I believe. Like, I'm not gonna speak for him, whatever, but I think when it comes to, you know, individualism, it's amazing what he's kind of achieved with these films, because especially stuff with like Halloween and then Big Trouble and The Thing, where there's such different genres. So obviously The Thing is like a horror movie, like thriller, and Big Trouble, which I guess is action comedy. I mean, I'm gonna say it as dark comedy because there's moments where it is hilarious, and then some moments you're like, okay, this is crazy. And then you've got Escape from New York, which is definitely like a thriller, post-apocalyptic kind of movie. But yeah, this is my finished look. As you know, as per usual, I don't really talk about the makeup. I'm just going along with my rambling. But yeah, let me know what you think of Big Trouble in Little China. If you haven't seen it, please do, because it is one of the best movies ever made. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, I like it, but no, it genuinely is. And I know a lot of people who like John Carpenter, this is like one of their favorite movies. I think, like I said, Halloween is my favorite John Carpenter movie, but when it comes to like the not horror version, I think this one beats Escape from New York for sure. Just because it's a bit more lighthearted in that aspect. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of today's video. I know I'm slowly getting there when it comes to actually talking about movies and being quite interesting, but any criticism I'm very happy to hear. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you are well. I will definitely be back very soon, so please like and subscribe because I upload videos every time I get a chance to, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.